Hello everybody, I'm going to tell you my latest speaker shopping experience. First of all, I did not buy any new speaker. I only bought 3 pairs of used speaker and they are all under $200, but what I pay for. One pair is actually in the lower 100 range, but those are used price, not retail price. But I'm going to tell you what I bought. I bought a pair of JBL N38, a KEF C40, a EPI A1100, which is rather unknown. Now I'm stacking along with my usual shop speaker. That is a pair of Fidelity Research M1200, and the pair back there is a Vivid EM595. Not the Vivid company that in Europe right now, but the Vivid company that you can buy those speakers from back in the 1990s, Briggs Electronics in Canada, which is kind of like a big box store speaker. And I paid $10 for them on Kijiji without the passive radiator. I gotta stick an 8-inch driver into that hole to make a passive radiator. And that's why they're $10. And that pair is a roadkill. My friends actually picked up from the roadside. And it works. It just works. Anyway, the purpose of this video is to show you specs sometimes mean something to a point, but after that you really have to look at where you're going to put the speaker in. I'm just talking about speaker right now. I'm not talking about electronic. The electronic does not affect by room acoustic as much as speaker does, because room and the room acoustic is part of the speaker per se. So out of that 5 pairs, I would have thought that KEF sound the best, because in the 90s when I hear them brand new, they do sound very good, and I thought they would sound the best. But in this space, I wouldn't call it a room, because the space up there above my head is about 22 feet highest, and then 20 feet, and it's not a cathedral ceiling, but it's a roof on with a top ceiling. It's 22 feet down to about 20 feet on both sides. And on my right is a 15 feet away before I hit the wall, and on my left, that's 80 feet before I hit the wall. But in all those spaces, I get shelving stuff, just storage space, storage stuff, workbench. So it's not a wall, but there's something in there. There's mostly diffusion, a little bit of absorption, but really just don't count as a wall at all. Where you stand at the camera, right beside the camera on your right hand side is where my bench is. And I usually sit sideways and I listen to music sideways from the bench. And this space is actually a production testing space, not a quality sounding assessment space, but it's just like after I build an amp, put it in, play for 50 hours, 2-3 days, and that kind of testing. So it's not a go or no go, but at the same time, it's like I got able to play music, kind of evaluate it in the background, make sure it works before it goes. So this is the space for it, and it has to sound reasonably well. It doesn't annoy me, because if it annoys me, it doesn't do the job. So interesting enough, KEF, going to tell you the worst news or bad news first. KEF C40, supposed to sound the best out of the 5, sound the absolute horribly worst in this space. Now, don't get me wrong, I know somebody will go cut the video right there and say, oh, I said KEF C40 sound bad. No. I said KEF C40 in this space sound the absolute horribly worst. So the KEF C40 in another normal room is a wonderful speaker. I have another 2 experience and 2 pretty well-known speakers that actually have the same experience. Another pair is a Platinum Audio Duo. Wonderful speaker in a normal room. Absolutely horrible in this space. Horrible. Thin, so as a KEF, thin sounding, sound worse than a tabletop radio. Another pair is a Unity Audio CLA3. Now, Unity Audio in the 80s and 90s back in the Michigan, not the Unity Audio in Ottawa today in this day. CLA3, floor standing speaker, have an 8-inch rear firing woofer. Absolutely horrible. It sounds like a broken speaker with no bass and thin, really thin, and even the highs is squishy. This C40 also, high is really squishy in this space. But when I put it in a normal room, it's a wonderful speaker. Now, normal room meaning a normal space, even a fairly bare drywall is still better than nothing. That speaker can perform, but when it come into this space, this is a space, it's not a room. Where you sit is actually have an 8 feet ceiling with joists, 16-inch joists. So that's the kind of reflection space too, but it usually sounds like a small recital hall. That's the acoustic of this space. But with that 3 pairs of speakers I mentioned, it just sounds horrible. So, and backtrack a little bit, when I first put out of the 3, I first used the Unity Audio CLA3 and I thought, is it broken? And then I put it back in another room, it sounds actually nice. So then I try another pair, the Platinum Audio Duo, sound the same. So I kind of draw the conclusion, some speakers just don't work in this space, and that's okay. One speaker that works really well in this space is the Alta Lansing 604H. That just fills the room, not booming, no booming, but fills the room nicely, balanced sound. Now I don't want to put that speaker in this space for a long time because it actually takes up 2 columns of the speaker rooms, and also it's quite deep, it's deeper than any of this speaker. And it's bulky. So I put them on wheels. Even on wheels, it's just not enough space for me to work here. So I'm just, out of this 5 pair of speaker, 2 pair at least, maybe 3 will be out there after I've done this video. So what is sound the best in this room out of this 5 pair of speaker? I really can't tell you. I don't know, because 3 of them sounds actually quite balanced. One of them is adjustable balance. So the 3 of them sound quite balanced are the JBL N38, the Fidelity Research M1200, and that Vivid EM595 with the modifying stick-on 8-inch driver as a passive radiator. They sound balanced. Do they sound good? They sound good enough. Do they sound really good? No, not really good. But it sounds good enough in this space. I don't expect anything that sounds really good in this space. The EPI A1100 have adjustable tweeter and a mid bass, so I can actually adjust a little bit more or less. And I tend to like a little bit of thumpy bass when I listen to that pair of speaker. Expression on the floor, I want a little bit of thump. When I want a little bit of thump, I hook that up. Most of the music I don't like the thump, but sometimes thump is fun, once in a while. But what I'm trying to say is, if you look at the spec of the speaker and try to match your room, you can match it to a point. Yeah, there's more and more measurement out there supposed to tell you what it sounds, but you also need to know your room. But you try to measure this room is pointless. So then also I understand the measurement that when you measure something, you only measure in one position. You have to think about it. Are you going to listen to your music in one position only? I have a friend, changing the topic, I have a friend, buy a new speaker, and he is a small party type people, not a big party type. Small party type meaning like he has a few good friends that come in to have dinner, few good friends, half a dozen, come to his house for dinner, conversation, small conversation, stuff like that, and sometimes they just sit around, they have some background music, and they like to walk around the house. And he asked me, should I buy a pair of electrostatic speaker because the distributor is his friend? I said, if your distributor is actually your friend, he will refuse to sell you the electrostatic speaker that he is selling. If he insists of selling the electrostatic speaker and knowing what your lifestyle is, he is not your friend. So why? Electrostatic speaker. It's basically you have to lock your head in the space within like plus or minus 6 inches, and you can't move your head. If you do move your head, you lose the image. It's not designed for you to walk around the house. Then on the other extreme, when I have that requirement, somebody online saying like, well, what about MBL, the 360-degree ribbon things? How many pairs of MBL they can actually sell is not a real life speaker. Most people cannot afford it. Even if you actually want to give it to me, I don't even want it because it's too bulky. When I walk around the room, I'm not concerned about losing a little bit of highs. I just still want to have the rhythm and the music going on. So a normal box speaker will do. But when you put a normal box speaker in a room, you have to put it in actual room, not a space like the one I have here, because there is no reflection, or the reflection is really far away, then it sounds real. Those speakers are not designed for space like this. I can even actually hear my echo right now, but I don't know if you can hear the echo from the mic. But that echo, I can't avoid it. I'm not going to spend time to treat this room because this is a workspace, it is a production space, this is actually produced product. This is a necessary evil for me to set up because of the nature of business that I need to test the product before I go out the door. So good enough is good enough. So when you come in and listen to this system, yep, they will be sounding okay. They will be sounding not annoying. Are they going to sound really good, have a lot of image, have a lot of depth and height? Some, not a lot. So that's why I have multiple speakers in this space, and that was how I tried to stack speaker, front and back speaker, and that's how I start my 6.2S 2C setup in the other room. And I will put the link in this description that you can check it out and what they are, because I'm using multiple speakers to create a sound stage and an image that a small room is not possible, because there are image and sound stages only can be reproduced by really big speaker, really large speaker in a proper size room. And in those, when I say proper size room, meaning like big room. But when I do my 6.2S 2C system, I have managed to produce a proper image, a big image, and a height in this room's like less than 13 feet wide and less than 20 feet deep, with six speakers and a pair of subwoofer. That is actually just about anybody have 2-channel equipment can do, no DSP. And one of the reasons I bought this multiple pair of speaker because I want to reproduce that setup in a less expensive speaker. So to prove a point that setup doesn't have to be using expensive equipment, expensive speaker. This good enough is good enough. This is still a good speaker, okay? The KEF C40 is still a good speaker as long as you put it in a proper room. Again, this is not a space. Okay, so that's all I want to tell you of my used speaker buying experience, and I'm actually happy of all 3 pairs of speakers. They all sound differently. Okay, out of that 3, I still like the JBL N38 the best in this room. Space. I said it. Bye!